Hi, third period. I apologize for missing the Google Meet, but I'm going to go through what I'm going to do with the other groups. And if anybody else is here from other periods, if you missed the Google Meet, we did the same thing. Um, the work that we're going to work on is under this week. If you go to classwork and it's under this week, blue or gold or remote, your dates may be slightly different. But we're going to work on the Wednesday Google Meet combined like terms. You were given a copy of this at in school, and it just says combined like terms and distributive property, and there are a bunch of problems on the page. So we are only going to do some of them. I whited out the ones that we are not going to do, but you can follow along on your page. So if I look at number 1, and that's this one here, negative 4x plus 5x. I just need to combine the x's, so negative 4 plus 5 is 1, so it's 1x, which can also be written as x to combine the terms. That's simplified. Now we're going to do number 2. Remember that subtraction can be written as add a negative. So if I wanted to rewrite this, I would write 1 plus 5v plus v plus negative 6. Okay? So that's why when we combine like terms, we always say you have to keep the minus sign when you circle the terms because it's really negative 6. All right? So that minus sign right there can be minus 6 or plus negative 6. So when I combine, this time I'm going to rewrite this. I am going to rewrite 5e plus b plus 1 minus 6. And I'm going to combine the like terms, which is 5e plus v and 1 minus 6. That gives me 6v plus negative 5. Or I can also write that as 6v minus 5. So that's completely simplified. And remember, apples and oranges, I can't combine them. One has a variable, one does not. Now let's look at 5. Now for 5, I'm going to circle the variable term. So I have negative 2x and minus or negative 7x. And then I can box the numbers, negative 8 and plus 2. So this was the other way that you did with Mr. Zumlo last year. So now I have negative 2x minus 7x, which is negative 9x. Then I have negative 8 plus 2, which is negative 6 or minus 6. Now remember, a minus is the same as a negative because I can also write that as plus negative 6. Okay, so I can use it as subtraction or negative sign when I'm doing the problem. So when I combine the red boxes there, okay, here, it's actually negative 8 plus 2 because it doesn't make sense to have a minus sign. All right, do one more like this. If we look at 8, so we're going to circle negative 7n minus 2n, and we will box, got 6 minus 8. So negative 7n minus 2n is negative 9n. 6 minus 8 is negative 2. So that would be minus 2. Okay, or I could also write that if you did plus negative 2. Okay, but usually you're going to see this written as subtraction. Okay, so we're going down to the distributive property for number 13. Remember, you circle the term in front and you're going to multiply by each term inside parentheses. So I have 3 times negative 7, negative 21. Bring down the minus. There's minus up here, so that comes down. 3 times 8 is 24, so 24n. For number 14, now we're distributing out -8. So I'm going to multiply -8 by both of those. -8 times 1 is -8. Now I can bring down the plus. -8 times 5 is -40m. Okay. And I may have noticed at the beginning that if I did -8 times 1, -8, -8 times +5 is -40. So you'll also notice there's two ways of writing that. I can write -8 plus -40m or -8 minus 40m. Both of these ways are correct. Usually I will see the minus sign. So let's look at number 21. Now for 21, there's a negative sign in the front. And if there's nothing out there with the negative sign, it means that it is -1. So we've got a -1 out there. Doesn't want to write. So I'm distributing -1 to both of these. -1 times 3 is -3a. I can bring down the minus and do -1 times 3, -3, okay, which is also equal to -3a plus 3, which is my final answer. I could also think about this as that -3 as a -3. If I did that, I would right away go -1 times 3a is -3a, and I would do -1 times -3, which is +3. So there are different ways of doing this to skip that one middle step. Either way, we get the same answer. So now for 20, I'm distributing out -2. So I can do -2 times x, -2x. Then I can bring down the minus, -2 times 5, -10. Then when I rewrite that, it's -2x plus 10. I could also think of that as -2 times -5, okay, which also gives me +10. All right, so now we're going to combine using the distributive property and combining like terms. I gave you, most of you, I believe, a Post-it in class because sometimes it's easier if I just look at the distributive problem separately, especially when you're starting this. So if I look at 25, I've got -n plus 4 parentheses n plus 1. So if I take this as my Post-it and I just look at that second half, okay? So what I'm distributing is that 4, that +4, to both of these terms. So +4 times n is 4n, which is the same as +4n. 4 times 1 is +4. And then I just have to bring down that other piece. So that -n, nothing really changed with that. I'm just bringing that down. And now I can combine like terms. I've got -n plus 4n. So -1 plus 4 is 3n plus 4. That's my final answer. Okay. So now if I look at number 28, I can actually bring down stuff first. So I know that that -3p is going to just come down. Nothing's going to change there. So if I bring my Post-it down from the minus sign on, I am actually distributing that negative sign, which is the same as -1. So I'm distributing -1 out. -1 times -8 is +8, so +8. -1 times 4 is -4. So I know it's going to be -4p. Now I can look at the variables. I'm going to do -3p minus 4p. So that becomes -7p plus 8. and that's simplified. Okay, so let's look at 29. 29 is very similar. I have the negative 4 in front, which I can just bring down the negative 4. Now I'm going to look at what I'm going to distribute, and I'm going to be distributing after the plus sign. So the positive 6 is being distributed. 6 times negative 4 is negative 24x. 6 times 3 is positive 18 or plus 18. Now when I combine like terms, my variable, there's only one variable, but I have two sets of numbers. So I need to do negative 4 plus 18. So I bring down negative 24x. Negative 4 plus 18 is plus 14. Okay. Now let's look at 32. Same thing. I have that negative 1 in front. So I can bring down that negative 1. I bring down negative 1. Now I'm going to distribute out that positive 3. So I'm taking 3 and distributing it to both of them, which leaves me with positive 3m. 3 times 4 is 12 plus 12. I only have numbers that are like terms. So I end up with 3m, negative 1 plus 12 is plus 11. Okay. One more like this, and then we're just going to do a couple problems that are multiple distributive property steps. If I look at 33, I am distributing, there's that negative sign in the front. Okay, so I am distributing negative 1. That negative n is also the same as negative 1n. So the first part, I can cover up the end. Now I'm going to do negative 1 times negative 1, which is 1n, or just n. You don't have to write 1n. Negative 1 times positive 2 is negative 2, so I can just write minus 2. Bring down the rest of the problem. Minus 2n. Now I'm going to combine the like terms. So I have 1n minus 2n gives me negative 1n minus 2. And I can rewrite that as negative n minus 2. So I can leave out that negative 1. Okay, so those are problems with one distributive property. There are no problems on here with two distributive properties, but if you turn your paper over on the back, it is blank. And I will do these. I put 4 examples that you can write down on your page. So these are ones that have double distributive property. So I have distributive property here and here. So with your Post-it, you can cover up the second half. And you won't have to do this forever, but it's a good way to start and keep organized. So I'm going to distribute out that 5. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. And 5 times 4 is positive 20 or plus 20. Now I'll move my Post-it to the second half. And if I look at that, now I'm going to be distributing out that 2 or positive 2. So 2 times n is 2n. 2 times 3 is 6, positive 6. Now I can combine my like terms. So I'm going to circle my variables. Negative 10n plus 2n, which is negative 8n. My numbers are positive 20 or 20 plus 6, so plus 26. And there's my final answer. Okay, and the rest are pretty much done the same way. Um, if you want to pause and then check your answers, try them and check your answers, you can. Let's look at the second one here, and then I'll move down so you can see the last two. I can see I have two distributive properties, one there and one there. So I'm going to cover up the second half. Start by distributing the -7. -7 times n is -7n. -7 times 3 is -21. I could also bring down the plus and put plus -21, but I know that plus and negative and minus are the same, so I was skipping that step. I'm going to move my box. Now, if you look, you're going to distribute out the -8. It's -8, so it becomes -8 because plus -8 is the same as -8. So -8 times 1 is -8. -8 times +8 is -64n. Now at this point, I can circle my variables. -7n minus 64, -71n. My numbers are -21 minus 8, which is -29. Okay, and I have two more examples for you. Like I said, here's the last two. If you want to try these two and then fast forward and see if you got them right, you can do that also. I'm still can use my Post-it because there's two distributive problems. There's the first one, distributing out the 4. 4 times x, 4x. 4 times -10, -40. Okay. Move my Post-it. Now I'm going to distribute out the -6. -6 times x, -6x or -6x. -6 times -4 is +24. So notice I've been combining some steps here. Instead of bringing down minus and then doing -6 times -4, I was combining. So instead of doing -6x, bring down minus -24, I'm skipping that step and going right to there, which you may do. Circle your variables. -2x. Box your numbers. -40 plus 24 is -16. Okay, and one more. So same thing. I've got two distributive property problems. Sorry, doesn't want to move. So I've got one there, which is 40x plus 24. Got my second problem. I'm distributing out -10 to both of them. Minus 90x minus 90. I'm going to circle my variables. 40 minus 90 is -50x. Box my numbers. 24 minus 90 is -66 or minus 66. And that's simplified. Okay, so as you're doing problems this week, please email me if you have any questions at all. We can always do a Google Meet in the afternoon. Remember, Gold Group, you have a test on Friday. Please make sure your review is done, and we will review that on Thursday. And Friday will be your test on lessons 1 through 3. Blue Group, make sure you follow the weekly checklist. So you have work to do tomorrow, Thursday. You actually have a video lesson that you need to watch. Make sure you watch it, and homework problems to complete. And then Friday, you'll do the review. Your test will be on Tuesday. Okay? So please email me if you have any questions, and have a good rest of the day.